So when I was in high school, dating was pretty easy, because you saw the same people every day. You got a good sense of like who they are, and really the only difficult part was just working up the courage to ask them out. But then in college, things got a little more difficult because you're going to this entirely new place. You don't know anyone there. There's just like thousands of strangers, and you're only having classes with maybe like 1% of them. So you just have no idea how to like filter through the rest of them to find someone that you're compatible with. And once I left college, it became even more challenging because now the pool is even bigger, and the likelihood that I was going to make good connections at a small advertising agency with 30 employees, most of whom were like 10 years older than me, not so great, right? Plus, I hated the job anyways, so I quit and I started freelancing with my own business, which was great, don't get me wrong, but at that point, I had no social structures left because I moved back home to save money like a lot of millennials do, and I was just sitting in my bedroom coding and designing all day long. And I really began to feel like someone living on an alien planet. Of course, the conventional advice is like to put yourself out there, join some clubs, start a new sport. So I tried a whole bunch of things. I'd go to the library, go to the bookstore. I started a meetup for creatives and freelancers and started rock climbing at a local gym where I did meet a couple of people, but they just weren't strong enough connections to really form like a long-term relationship in terms of a partner or even friends. So I began to like double down on the dating apps, just spending a lot of time swiping through hundreds and thousands of profiles. But these apps all just seem to be designed to make people miserable and lonely and kind of capitalize that and just keep them coming back to the app instead of actually finding someone in real life. But I also knew another part of the problem was that I just needed to work more on myself. I needed to make more money. I needed to have a job that was more fulfilling to me. I needed to dress better. I needed to like go out hiking and have more life experiences. So in 2020, I just kind of like went monk mode, started really improving every aspect of my life. I wrote a book where I was drawing a comic every single day for a year. I switched over to eating only whole foods. I quit drinking alcohol and also cured a lot of my health conditions just from basic lifestyle intervention, at which point I basically left the medical system for good. And then I started a YouTube channel about barefoot shoes, which took off, and finally finished my van life build, which felt like the last piece of the puzzle, But instead of raising my odds of meeting someone, the more I improved myself, the more I went off on these divergent paths from the norms of society, the more my options shrunk until it felt impossible to meet someone that was actually compatible with me. And probably the nail in the coffin was a year ago when, after trying literally every other diet and just not finding the one that was working for me, I ended up eating raw carnivore, which I've been eating for a year and a half. And again, my health has improved dramatically because of that, but at the same time, it's so goddamn taboo that good luck with trying to find anyone who's into like van life and eating raw meat and barefoot shoes and being a solopreneur and an atheist and outside the medical system, because it's not just about trying to find someone who's into all the same interests as you or shares your beliefs. Like even just finding someone who accepts all of those things in and of itself is extremely difficult. Basically, the problem is that as a human race, we're meant to live in small tribes where we all share the same things. We share the same beliefs, the same interests, the same ways of living. But now everything is so fragmented that trying to find someone you're compatible with is like trying to win the Mega Million lottery, which is to say, it's not the loneliness itself that's so crushing. It's just the feeling of hopelessness, the lack of agency, the sense that you're involved in this process, which is so luck oriented, that everything you do to try to find someone is just a drop in the ocean. And everything you do to try to become more yourself makes that process even harder. What kills me though is that we have the technology to solve this problem. Like 5 years ago, there was this app called okcupid, and it was actually genius. Unlike the swipe culture of Hinge and Tinder and Bumble and Coffee Meets Bagel, you'd essentially answer all of these questions, and they literally had hundreds of questions, and then it would automatically rank people by how much you match with them on a super deep level. Like, I'm not kidding, after I answered a few hundred questions, I was matching with people like 99.7%. I'm talking soulmate level connections that I was finding in the course of a 15-second search. And that doesn't automatically mean that that person is going to become a soulmate, whether you're talking about friends or dating, but it just gave you such a feeling of connectedness because you knew that there was a way, there was something you could do to meet and find people. Unfortunately, in the past few years, okcupid was bought out by Match Group, who basically bought out everything. They own Hinge, they own Tinder, they probably own Bumble. And instead of using those platforms to help connect people, they've just turned them into profit-generating machines at the cost of people's mental health and loneliness and purpose in life. So the last week or so, I've been feeling like super desolate, just wading through hundreds of profiles of people who I have no connection, no interest in. And it's really sucked the life out of everything for me, because ultimately human beings are a social species, and without connection, it just feels like, what is the point of anything? What is the point of continuing to work on my van? What is the point of finishing my sci-fi novel? So the point is, there are just certain people who have so many constraints, so many filters, so many ways in which they've diverged from the norms, that the normal advice of just use the apps or just join a club are absolutely fucking useless. So after a week of being depressed and unmotivated and just not knowing what I can do to move my life forward in this respect, I thought, what if I remade okcupid? You know, like, what if I made this app where you could search hundreds of thousands or millions of people and actually find what you're looking for, because the app was actually designed to help you do that instead of generating profit for a very small number of sociopathic rich people. Basically, I did the same thing with my Barefoot shoe finder. I hand coded this app where you can just sort through all of these different styles by width and thickness and activities and materials. Like, people loved it, you know? And it's just crazy to think, with all of this technology, we don't have one single app that does something like this. I mean, apart from health, loneliness and lack of connection is the biggest problem that humanity is struggling with at the moment. And just consider how much happier people would be if it was actually straightforward to find people that you connected with. That said, it is kind of a huge project, and I'm sort of like frustrated that I would have to be forced to do this myself, because it's not really what I want to do. What I want to do is work on my sci-fi book, which I'm 250 words into. But frankly, I don't know that finishing the sci-fi book is going to make me any more connected to people than I am right now. And again, without connection, it's like, what's the point? You know, what's the point of having a best-selling book? What's the point of making a bunch of money if you're still lonely, if you still can't find people to deeply connect with? So yeah, like, investing years into this project is not super ideal for me, but it also seems like the thing that humanity needs more than anything else right now, and no one else is doing it. Overall, I just wish that we didn't live in a world where this was necessary. I wish we could just go back to living in small tribes where everyone knew each other, everyone was deeply connected with each other. But that world is probably never coming back, because technology is not going away. So the only thing we can really do is embrace it and try to find positive ways to use it to replicate the natural way that we used to live. And yeah, if you're going through it right now, if you feel like you're an outlier, like you just don't fit in, I'm sorry, because I know how much it fucking hurts. But in life, when you need something and it doesn't exist, so often you just have to do it yourself. But yeah, if I end up deciding to code the app, I'll make a video about it and let you guys know. And even if there was only 50 or 100 people on there, I still think it would be kind of cool just to get to know people in my audience and have them get to know me at a deeper level, which is one of the things that I really loved about okcupid when it used to be good. You know, just the ability that even if someone wasn't a perfect connection for you, you could just kind of like scroll through their answers and see how they thought about life, like feel them on a deep level as a human being, rather than just mindlessly swiping through a stack of faces. Anyways, thank you guys for hanging out. I will catch you next time. Peace.